to continue to read the book, which is the BioIdentical Hormone book. For those listening on YouTube, that video will be posted on this channel, IBI Healthcare Institute channel, as part 3. And for TikTok people, this will be, again, an option for you to switch to YouTube, to watch it live on YouTube, or make sure you follow me there so you can watch those videos there later on, and I'll take questions afterwards. You can always comment and make your comments on the videos to have those available for future discussions. So this particular brochure I give to my patients when I started hormone replacement therapy for their own education. By popular demand, people asked me to read it for you. We did part 1 and part 2 already. We read about, last thing that was in the part 2 was thyroid hormone. And we're gonna move on to estrogen as a hormone. Why are we doing this? That's because there's so much misinformation and so many different methods of replacing hormones, or some doctors might just say, I don't believe in hormones, I don't want to give you hormones, therefore not for you. But that's not fair, because we lived with hormones all our life, and when typically any hormone goes down, like for example thyroid hormone, we typically replace it. I do not know why they treat other hormones differently, but that's not what's recommended by those who are in the field and experts in the field. So we're going to continue reading about estrogen. It starts with a quote. I could live without my husband, children, or cats, but I could never live without my estrogen. That was published in Los Angeles Times in 1999. For more than 40 years, doctors have been prescribing estrogen for women who suffer with menopausal symptoms such as hot flashes and insomnia. Many women felt so healthy and invigorated on estrogen that they continue to take this hormone indefinitely. Study after study documents in astonishing effect that estrogen makes women not only feel better, but healthier. Estrogen vastly improves the quality of day-to-day life for women by making them more useful and energized. Women have better muscle tone, fewer wrinkles, stronger, shinier hair, and a more enjoyable, satisfying sex life after menopause. Estrogen users stand taller and straighter and do not suffer the typical bone loss of osteoporosis. Estrogen users have half the risk of heart disease and stroke in comparison with those that do not use estrogen. Literally 50% reduction, which, by the way, by clinical trials does show the longer you use the hormone, the less disease you will have. So more risk reduction with longer use. Estrogen users have an extremely low incidence of Alzheimer's disease and senility. Estrogen users are not subject to vaginal dryness, urogenital atrophy, and the concomitant infections that can become debilitating. So, for example, frequent urinary tract infections. If you use your hormone replacement correctly, like estrogen, you're less likely to get that urinary tract infection. Estrogen is one of the few hormones that women demand from their physicians. Over 10 million women take estrogens in the United States, and it was the most widely prescribed medicine in the United States. Thank you for the hearts. Actually, it is through estrogen supplementations that we have learned the importance of optimal hormone supplementation and the synergy from replenishing all of the hormones. It is not until women lose estrogen that they start to experience heart disease, bone loss, and overall deterioration. Simply by replacing this hormone, all this detriment can be prevented. So again, you guys, I am reading this book. It's a brochure, really, that I usually give to my patients by popular demand. I am streaming live on YouTube, IBI Healthcare Institute channel. It is linked in my profile. If you want to, make sure you follow me there. I already read part 1 and part 2. This is part 3. So make sure you follow from TikTok over to YouTube to get more information. You can post your questions there as well. I will get to them afterwards. However, on July 17th, 2002, the story gets more exciting, sadly. Okay, July 17th, 2002, the news media alarmed the public by reporting that hormones have been shown to increase the risk of heart disease and breast cancer. Unfortunately, the media does not know how to interpret the medical literature. Medical studies have reported for some time that synthetic estrogen and synthetic progesterone cause an increased risk of heart disease and cancer, but only when supplemented in the synthetic form. The natural hormones do not pose the same risk. This is exactly why we have been such strong advocates of natural hormone replacement and not synthetic. This information is not new. An almost identical article appeared in the same medical journal JAMA, the year before and revealed the same conclusion. Synthetic hormones increase risk of breast cancer, although it is very slight increase in risk. The media did not sensationalize the research until 2002 publication. But this poses a question. If the lack of hormones causes heart disease, how can taking the same hormone make it worse? It doesn't. Taking the chemically altered different hormone is what makes it worse. Natural or biologically identical hormone do not. This is what the media misinterpreted. The culprit were synthetic hormones, not natural hormones. The identical ones that we lack are exactly what we should replace, although this is not what most physicians do. Most physicians prescribe only the synthetic hormones, Premarin, Proveran, Prempro, and not the ones that are most appropriate. For years, many physicians have laughed and scorned the natural hormones and the physicians who prescribe them. In this 2002 report has them scrambling, looking for an explanation and options for their patients. And what's worse, women who need the beneficial effects of the hormone replacement are quitting because their physicians tell them to stop all the hormones. I see it every day. Patients who were told by one physician, go ahead and take the hormone, the other physician goes, stop it. And they're miserable. The women are miserable without that replacement hormone. They already know they felt so much better while taking it, and it's like torture to have another physician who's less educated to have them stop the hormone. When they stop, they suffer the consequences of estrogen deficiency. Physicians should be telling their patients to stop the synthetic hormones that have been demonstrated to be harmful. Physicians should be educating women that loss of our natural hormones results in significant deterioration and illness. Therefore, we should be encouraging estrogen replacement with bioidentical estrogen. Many women fear estrogen due to media reports on the negative studies of synthetic hormones. This is unfortunate. Women should be educated to fear the harmful effects of loss of our natural estrogen. The detrimental effects of the synthetic hormones should not be extrapolated to include our natural hormones, which are so beneficial. So synthetic bad, natural good, do not mix them up. The black box warning on the hormones was placed because of synthetics, but FDA took that black box warning on the synthetic and put it on all the hormones, including natural. But there's no clinical trials to show that naturals are harmful. All the clinical trials show that natural are beneficial. So there's actually a petition going on where a lot of doctors are signing it, sending letters to FDA to have them remove those black box warnings from description of natural hormones. In the past, physicians routinely removed a woman's ovaries with hysterectomy. This eliminated key hormone production. Once physicians realized the suffering and harmful effects from the loss of hormones, they now try to save ovaries whenever possible. If hormones are so harmful, we would surgically remove ovaries at the early age. Instead, we try to preserve ovary function and beneficial hormone production for as long as possible. And when menopause occurs and hormone levels fall, we simply need to replace the lost hormones back to premenopausal levels with the same identical hormone instead of with completely different synthetic chemical structure. The pharmaceutical industry does not admit there is a difference, but the human body sure knows there is a difference. Estrogen is produced in the ovaries and adrenal glands. Men actually produce estrogen from conversion of testosterone, although this is extremely small amount. There are 3 types of estrogen found in women's body: estrone, estradiol, and estriol. The level of these hormones fall dramatically at the onset of menopause, which is responsible for the symptoms and detrimental health effects of menopause. The symptoms characteristic of menopause are hot flashes, insomnia, vaginal dryness, bladder problems, difficulty concentrating, and anxiety. Unfortunately, the disease process, such as cardiovascular disease, stroke, osteoporosis, Alzheimer's disease, only increase in the absence of estrogen. The rapid loss of bone after menopause has been attributed to decline in the production of estrogen, which is essential for bone growth. Osteoporotic fractures are one of the many of the diseases of aging that result in significant morbidity and mortality. In addition to loss of estrogen results in development of heart disease, which is #1 killer in both men and women. When a woman's estrogen level drops, the risk of heart disease soars. Postmenopausal women on estrogen have a 70% decrease in mortality from heart disease. So not 0, but 70% less than women without estrogen replacement. Estrogen also has been shown to lower total body cholesterol and raise HDL, the good cholesterol. Not only does estrogen protect vessels of the heart, it also protects vessels of the brain and protects against Alzheimer's disease. Over 100 articles in the medical literature over the past 30 years have documented the cardiovascular benefits of estrogen. There is one recent study, WHI study, in which combination of synthetic estrogen and progestin, Premarin and Provera, showed an increased risk in breast cancer and heart disease. However, in the estrogen-only trial, there was no increased risk of breast cancer or heart disease. Therefore, it was synthetic progestin, Provera, that was to blame and not the estrogen at all. Most physicians, the media, and the patients misunderstand this. Again, it is the synthetic progestin that causes the increased health risk. Estrogen alone is not the culprit. There is no doubt that estrogen can protect women against many of the diseases of aging, and that postmenopausal women on estrogen typically feel better and stay healthier. Unfortunately, most of the estrogen that is prescribed to women is in the form of a synthetic estrogen, or an estrogen that is not natural to the body. Since these synthetic estrogens are not natural to the body, many women develop side effects and do not feel well on synthetic, non-bioidentical hormone replacement. A healthy trend these days is to avoid the synthetic estrogens that have been used for years and instead use natural estrogens. Human receptor sites that designed to accept the natural estrogen is not synthetic and not synthetic analog. A recent article in New England Journal of Medicine proved by meta-analysis that long-term use of synthetic estrogens and progestins increase risk of breast cancer. So no synthetics. We don't want it. Synthetics are bad. This medical studies have utilized the most commonly prescribed estrogen, Premarin, which is derived from the urine of pregnant mares. Thus, the contraction, pregnant mare urine. Premarin contains many estrogens found in horses only and not humans. Many women cannot tolerate the side effects created by taking chemically different horse estrogen. More importantly, Premarin contains the horse estrogen equilin, which can cause many side effects. It is astonishing that so many physicians do not understand why some women refuse to take Premarin. So again, studies show that bioidentical estrogen decreases the heart disease, decreases the breast cancer, improves the overall health. Studies show that synthetic estrogen progestins increase those risks and are not well tolerated because they're made out of horse, not human, not vegan, so not bioidentical. In summary, estrogens protect against heart disease and stroke, osteoporosis, Alzheimer's disease, and memory disorders. It protects against vaginal atrophy, urinary incontinence, and urinary tract infections. It prevents symptoms of menopause and improves overall well being. Estrogen deficiency results in urogenital atrophy, incontinence, sagging skin, sagging breast, increased skin wrinkles, fatigue, depression, mood swings, and decreased libido, all of which can be corrected by estrogen replacement. I absolutely recommend estrogen, and replacement must be in the form of natural, biologically identical estrogen, of which there are several forms. So there are several different forms we can prescribe as doctors. The exact dose of and type will be determined by patient's age, medical history, and blood levels. A recent article from UCLA demonstrated that postmenopausal women without ovaries suffered increase in heart disease, stroke, osteoporotic fractures, and increased mortality in comparison to women who had ovaries. Surprise. This is one of the hundreds of medical studies providing beneficial effects of our hormones and the problems and deterioration that can occur when our hormones are lost. Our own hormones are beneficial until we lose them. Therefore, we should replace them with the same identical hormone that was there before. Do not replace them with chemically altered, harmful hormones that are completely different than the naturally occurring hormones that we had before. Premarin dramatically increases thrombosis, heart attacks, and strokes, whereas estradiol, the natural one, was shown to have none of those effects. Premarin contains over 10 different estrogens that are not found in human body and that have adverse effects on breast tissue and blood vessels. This again is another example of the study that demonstrates harmful effects of the conjugated chemically altered estrogens, whereas the use of estradiol has no adverse effects at all. So again, this is just a summary to show that bioidentical hormones, estrogen, has good side effects, the synthetics do not. Never equate the synthetic estrogens with the natural estrogens. The media might lump them together, but they are not equal. It is not until the body lacks the natural hormone that we see the problems and deterioration. This can be avoided by simply putting back in the same identical hormone that was there before. This is the molecule that the body recognizes, metabolizes, and uses as it was its own. If you're a woman without estrogen, either because of menopause or surgical menopause, complete hysterectomy, for example, you should be taking estrogen and progesterone, even if you don't have your uterus. If you are taking synthetic estrogen, you should change to natural estrogen. Put back into your body the same identical hormone to levels similar to what you had when you were younger, so that you feel and function as you did before the menopause, as well as to prevent the significant deterioration that occurs from loss of estrogen. I'm going to stop on this chapter because that's a lot of information for those who are still here. Yay. Again, this is going live on YouTube right now, and that will be posted on YouTube. I'm going to get to progesterone next time, so it's going to be a relatively short session. But in summary, if we're losing the hormone, we need to replace the hormone. It is a common sense that we've been using for many years for any other hormone. So if the child lacks growth hormone, they're going to get growth hormone to grow. If you're lacking your thyroid, whether because we surgically remove your thyroid gland or it's just malfunctioning, we're going to give you thyroid hormone replacement. Same idea should go for our testosterone, estrogen, progesterone. If we remove your ovaries surgically, we need to replace what your body no longer can make. If you losing your ovaries because of menopause, meaning ovaries shut down, shrinked up, and no longer working, we should replace the estrogen, progesterone that it used to make and testosterone, because our ovaries also make testosterone. So we need to replace what is lost to continue to function as we used to. And if you know people who went through menopause, who lost the ovaries from surgery, the younger you lose your ovary, the younger you're going to get old. So if for some reason your ovaries were removed when you were 30 years old and you went to surgical menopause at 30 years old, guess what? Your chances of broken bones, Alzheimer's and heart disease gonna start way, way earlier. Why is that? You're lacking the hormone that you need. We need to replace it. Same thing happens if you're 45 or 50 years old going through menopause. You lost the hormone, replace it. And you don't have to wait until you fully past menopause. You can start replacing some of the hormones in perimenopause before you officially lose the hormone. That's where the expert comes in to guide you through the process and adjust it as you go through this stage of your life. Hope this helps. I'm gonna stop the live here. We're gonna post it. You guys make sure you click the share, follow button, and like button. Comment on the YouTube video so I can answer those questions later. And then we'll continue to part 4 afterwards. Let's see if I can turn it off.